Roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Barry Christensen, excuse me. Commissioner Sean Hughes is absent. Commissioner Nance Matson,
Here.
Vice Chair Scott Artis,
Present.
and Chair Tara McClintock Horner.
Here. Is there any public comment for items not on the agenda online?
If there's anyone online who would like to make comment, please do so now. I am not seeing anyone, and there is no one in the auxiliary room downstairs either. So,
Okay, and no one is here, so public comment is closed, and no agenda changes, right? Okay, and for the consent calendar, we have minutes of September 4th. Do I have a motion to accept?
I move to accept.
In a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
just bear with me for.
roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Barry Christensen,
I'll
me.
abstain because I wasn't here.
Commissioner Sean Hughes is absent. Commissioner Nance Matson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Scott Artis,
Yes.
and Chair Tara McClintock Horner.
Yes, McClinton Horner.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's the most common mispronunciation of my last name. First item of business, no open space trail standards.
Thank you, Chair. So we are here tonight to discuss and comment on the Newell Open Space Trail standards that are before you this evening. It's outlined within your staff report, but just as a high-level comprehensive overview. As you know, Newell Open Space is an agricultural open space property where open and active cattle grazing occur year-round under a licensed shared agreement with the Azevedo family and Lynch Canyon. It is open for public and open to the public for passive recreational use. The preserve will remain in its natural condition to ensure the protection of the habitats, wildlife, ecosystems, and biodiversity of the property, and reduce the environmental impacts on trails for sensitive resources, habitats, riparian areas, native and special status plants and animal species. Our goal tonight is to really just understand what type of property we have and the type of trail system that we currently have on that property. We have classified it as a Class 2 multi-use trail that is designed for cyclists, equestrians, and pedestrians. And it includes, with its moderate terrain, the trail varies throughout the property in regards to elevation. So as you can understand, with a natural trail, it is going to be susceptible to weather and year-round elements, including wildlife and other things that occur on the property. And so we really wanted to make sure that we incorporated, weather-related closures. That was one of the biggest changes that we've made this year, is recognizing that when it is wet, we should not be having people out on the trail because that's when damage can occur. In addition, we do close the property when there is red flag warnings, as well as poor air quality. We implemented an evaluation process to be able to evaluate maintenance that needs to happen on the property pertaining to the trail system. And pretty much how that works is we do a trail inventory, and then we do seasonal inspections, and then we prioritize that maintenance based off of low priority, medium priority, and high priority. And then emergencies needed to be taken care of immediately. In addition, we wanted to be able to include our maintenance routines. There was a lot of questions about when we can mow, and like our grazing periods and all that stuff. So we wanted to make sure that we had our maintenance windows outlined within the trail standards, that maintenance typically will occur from March through November of each year, and this is dependent on state and this is dependent on weather, and then as well as state and local regulations. We have a grading and maintenance window, which will only occur during the dry months, generally from May 15th to October 15th. And then we do list how we handle invasive species on the trail, how conservation grazing will occur, and then when mowing will, and what our mowing process is. So really, it's outlined for you this evening. This is our second time of looking at this. The goal here is to review and discuss this. This will become part of the Newell management plan. We'll get into that a little bit further, but we really wanted to nail this down and make sure that our trail standards are clearly identified so that we can just transfer and plop that into the Newell management plan when it comes time to update that section of the plan. Thank you.
I'd like to open it up for commissioner questions at this time. We'll do comments a little bit after public comment. Anybody have questions? No? Okay. Commissioner Mattson.
All right, thank you. I have 3 quick questions. On page 7 of the package, I guess it is the package that's, yeah. Grading and maintenance window. Do we have to do a bird survey before that, or is that just when we're mowing? Yeah.
Yeah, not if it's happening. If it's happening during bird nesting season, then yes, we do need to do that, and that typically will happen as part of the process, because when we're grading, we're going to be doing along the trail, and sometimes there's birds nesting along the trail. So sometimes, yes, we will have to do a bird survey.
Okay. Do we need to mention it in that item, or is it inferred somewhere else?
It wouldn't hurt to put that in there into the grading section, so I can add that as like that may be a caveat to that process.
Okay, thanks. Then my second question is on invasive species. And I really, actually, I mean, I like this overall plan, and I really like addressing the thistle on the trail. In past years, we've addressed the thistle in the hills. Are we going to still do that, or are we just focusing on the trails?
I thought it was in here, so I'll double check that, but we do address thistle throughout the property. So right now we are working with Artemis Habitat, and they've actually come in and started to spray not only for the trails, but also for the artichoke thistle. And that application based off of this year will happen twice a year. So I can make sure that that's included in there as well.
Okay. And then my last thing is on the next page, brushing. The term brushing is an online scam. So I'm wondering if it's a different word we could use there.
Sure. So just so that you know, I reviewed a ton of open space management plans throughout California as well as other states, and this was common in there. But if there's a different word, do you have a recommendation?
I don't know. I had questioned it, and then I just looked up on what brushing is, and it says brushing is an online scam. I went,
Oh.
About combing. Kidding.
If brushing is a usual terminology in this field, then don't worry about it. It was just funny. It's like, different.
I will look into that. But like I said, I did review a lot of open space management plans to get some ideas of what they were doing, and with similar properties that we have here, and really trying to see. I've actually called a couple of those organizations too to really figure out like what works, what doesn't work, and are they experiencing the same challenges that we are. And so I can definitely look into that and make sure that that's the correct terminology.
And if it's not, you could just say brush clearing.
Okay.
Maybe that would be, I don't know. It was me, but just not having heard of that term in relationship to this. So great, that's it for me.
Commissioner Artis.
Yeah, thanks for this. I just had one follow-up question on the bird survey in the mowing / trail grading. Is there a set budget that is defined for like annual bird surveys to pay for that? And if there is, and they were not necessarily timed for mowing, is there ability to do that, or does it need to be coordinated, trail grading and mowing to be happening within a certain window of each other then?
Yeah, so typically what we do is we partner with our Public Works Department. They've done the last grading project as well as the last mowing project, and we do have it budgeted to do the bird surveys that are needed to do this work. I can't tell you specifically how much Newell costs because we have other open space properties that we mow, and so it is just a larger contract it's folded in. But I can definitely make sure that moving forward, we have all of that teed up and lined up for future years. But this is a common practice that we've been doing over the last couple years. We, as you also know, is we've tried to not mow as much this year and go with more of the natural grazing of the sheep. And that has seemed to work really well. We are planning on doing another pass of the sheep this coming fall with Pasture Protein, which is the company that we've contracted with. So we really are trying to get more into the conservation grazing versus the mowing, but there may be some times where we do need to come in and mow because the grasses are growing a little bit quicker than we had anticipated.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Hughes?
Hey, I just wanted to say, it's great to see this on paper. Thank you. I read over it this afternoon. Actually, since we're talking about the sheep, would that get mentioned in here? Because it sounded like you guys were on board with using the sheep kind of exclusively for some of the maintenance up there. Just curious if it would get written into this or if it's just at your discretion.
So it's actually under conservation grazing where it says livestock grazing is a science-based management tool to maintain grassland. So it does talk about that being a tool for us that we are going to be using as part of our maintenance plan to maintain the trails up in Newell. Yeah.
So just under grid, okay, I see.
Yeah. I tried to keep it very, you know, with these plans, we want them to be living documents. Like really the idea is to taking a couple steps forward. I'm hoping to be able to use all this information and put it into the Newell management plan. One of the biggest challenges that we have with our current plan is it's this visionary document and it doesn't really tell us how to manage or operate an open space with active and open cattle grazing that has passive recreational use and 7 different conservation values on it. And, you know, how do we maintain and manage that property? And so really trying to try to pull back the onion and look at that property and how we can do what we need to do to meet the needs of our community as well as be compliant with the conservation easement. And so I tried to write this in a way that would help people in the future, like it be broadly written that would allow the many different types of tools that are out there for, again, this type of property, because we're not the only one that has a property like this. East Bay Regional Park District does, and Peninsula, I can't even speak. The Peninsula, over in San Francisco, I'm just going to say it over there. They have open space that they have very similar properties, and so really, again, I looked at a lot of those plans and tried to see what the language and what they were doing, and trying to incorporate into ours, so that way we can, if it's myself or somebody 10 years from now, we actually have a tool that we can refer back to and say, okay, during this time of year we do this. This is how we maintain our trails. This is the type of trail system that we have. We know that they're going to be susceptible to weather elements. We know that you can't access this trail 365 days out of the year. We need to close it when it's wet. We need to close it for red flag warning. We need to close it if there's poor air quality. So just really, again, documenting all of that, having it at one location so that way it can continue to be updated on an as needed basis. Because again, the moment we update it, I'm sure something else will come up and we're going to need to add something to it. So making sure that it's a living document and it's adaptable to what we need it to be.
Cool. Again, it's good to see. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Christian?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll echo Sean's statement. This shows that you've really put a lot of work into this, and I'm very impressed and encouraged by it because it's light years ahead of where we were 6 months ago. So thank you for that. I just want to recognize that. And then a couple questions. With the red-legged frog, there's always been 2 different things because the management plan describes the development rights that the developer bought.
So sorry, Commissioner Christian, are we talking about the management plan or are we talking about the trail standards?
Maybe I'm talking about the management plan, because you did talk about,
I just brought it up as this would go into the management plan, but if you have a comment about the management plan, that it has to wait until that item.
okay. And I suppose the second one would too. It would be about restoration. I haven't read the whole thing yet, and so is there a section on restoration there, not of the trails, but of the trees and oak forests and the possibilities and potential? I know that the Land Trust has properties, and they're doing a ton of work up at Wild Lake, and they're doing prescriptive burning. They're getting rid of invasive species. There's all kinds of possibilities, and so I think I would like to talk about having a section in there that kind of frees us up to go up there and actually
I think
Put
that
a lo-
sounds like management plan.
sort of,
So we have, that's in 2 items.
Okay,
With
that's
that.
what I'll save it. Thanks.
Any questions on the
But good
trail
jo-
standards?
But good job on all of this. It really looks good.
Yeah,
I'm
I agree.
encouraged.
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to open this for public comment.
Okay, is there anyone in chambers that would like to make comment? Okay. There's nobody in the auxiliary room downstairs. Anybody online that would like to make public comment on this item, please raise your hand right now. And there is no public comment.
Okay, public comment closed. Any commissioner comments on this item? Or we get it all out with our questions? Okay.
I just would say thank you. It's really well thought out and straightforward and should be easy for people to follow going forward.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Ellie.
I think you've done a great job making it a living document.
Isn't I have one more comment, because I don't know if I got to say it to Ally yet, but I definitely mentioned it to Erica. The sheep did a fantastic job. It was pretty cool. I haven't seen it that clean in a long time. So,
Thank you.
for
We're
that,
really
too.
excited about the new grazing program that we implemented this year. And I do want to share that we were able to secure an additional $100,000 to go towards grazing to serve all of American Canyon. And that's thanks to the American Canyon Fire Protection District. So I really just want to do a shout out to them because they were able to secure us an additional $100,000 for this coming year. And that will be used in many different ways. And I'm sure you're seeing the sheep being moved all around American Canyon right now, and they're doing great work. So we're excited about it.
Will they be back at Newell anytime soon?
Yes, we're actually planning on doing another sweep in the fall. With this, they have 2 more spots, and then we're going to try to loop them back over to Newell.
Yeah, fall started last week.
Yeah, I know.
So I still have some more protections to put on the trees that we planted there. So I'm just,
Yes,
let me
you
know
do have
when-
some time.
let me know when they're coming back.
I will let you know,
Thank
Barry.
you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Artis?
Yeah, I also wanted to comment just on a thanks for the grazing program that's happening, not just in the trail plan here that is in Newell, but also just in some of these other kind of isolated, smaller areas, because there are some struggling native species that are going to benefit or potentially benefit or even have been extirpated from Napa County and other counties that could use that are ground-dwelling birds that will be able to come in and use that. And especially happening in the fall, there's an opportunity for those wintering birds that are coming in right now to at least winter here and potentially, and maybe hopefully in the future, establish some populations and maybe breeding populations that would need to happen again. So thank you.
Commissioner Hughes?
Last question about the sheep.
We're done with questions. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm super hyped on the sheep. So I noticed they just went about, I think you guys went about 50, 75 feet past the Eucalyptus Grove up the North Loop Trail. Are you guys planning to go up to the gate with the sheep at any point, or?
They were supposed to do. I'm sorry. They're not supposed to go into the grazing pasture. So they're only supposed to go. So they go up to the North Loop. So right now we have gate number 1, our new gate number 1, and go up to the second gate. So they did that entire area along the creek, and then they went all the way up to the 3rd gate.
So they,
Yes.
that's
So
what I
they
was
did the
asking.
left, the North Loop, all the way up to the top gate.
They didn't quite make it up there, so they stopped, like I said, about 50 feet after Eucalyptus Grove. And I was like, oh man, come on. And it's
That's
not like the trail's in
interesting.
bad condition, because I think it looks like you guys bladed it at the very least. But I was just curious why they stopped there.
Yeah, let me double check on that because they were supposed to go all the way up to the gate, and because they also did the south end. They went into the picnic area and they did that entire pasture as well. And yes, we did recently grade that entire trail, especially the trail within the grazing pasture. So that was recently done as well. So you should see some significant improvements in the trail throughout the entire system because last Ridge Trail Day, we weren't able to make it all the way around in the upper pasture because it got very narrow. So we were able to fix, we hired a contractor who was skilled in doing that work, and he was able to actually get the hard to reach places for us. So we're really proud of that work too.
Yeah, it's shaping up nicely, and it's much appreciated. Thanks.
Excellent. Okay, at this time, I'd like to reopen public comment. I think there were some problems with Zoom a little earlier.
Yes, we do have, and is there somebody in person? Because we'll take in-person comments first. That's protocol, so, yes.
Zoom, I noticed last time during the meeting, we have a few very soft-spoken members on the commission, and it was very difficult for me to hear them. So I'm suggesting perhaps they could put the microphone closer to them in order for those at home that are unable to make it in person can hear everything that is being said in the meetings. That would be greatly appreciated. And for some reason, I still can't get you on channel 28. I always get Katati. I don't understand that. So anyway, good. Anyway, that's it for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fritz.
Now we have Kara Werner on Zoom. Kara, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Just one second. Hi, Kara.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Good evening, commissioners. I thank you for the opportunity to revisit public comment. I have been having technical difficulties also at home, so I echo the other speakers' comments. This time it popped up and said it was city council, so I wasn't sure I had the right link. And anyway, anyway, thanks for revisiting. My main public comment, however, is I wanted to update you about the bike-friendly communities application process we have started, and we are starting by partnering with NBTA on doing a bike parking audit countywide, but especially in American Canyon and actually a little deeper in American Canyon. And it means we have volunteers going out with an app on their phone and really tracking and locating all of the bike parking that's available. And so I wanted to mention that because if any of you have the time to take a quadrant or a section of American Canyon and would like to download the app and help us out with that, we would welcome the help. Right now we have the northwest corner covered, but otherwise we're still looking for folks. I think you all have my email, but I can also send a follow-up email. And I hope to be giving you a fuller update next time. I want to quickly shout out Walk and Roll to School Day is on Wednesday, October 9th, and also thank Director Akita for helping to share that information with the American Canyon community. And then finally, I want to let you know that we have once again been awarded an OTS, Office of Traffic Safety grant in partnership with law enforcement agencies around the county to provide bike and pedestrian safety education in American Canyon, primarily in the schools. So we will be back doing that Safe Routes focus again this year. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Allie, do we have a record of bike parking in the city already?
It should be in the bicycle plan, but I can double check because we do have an American Canyon bicycle plan, so I can double check that.
Okay. I would be interested in helping out with that if needed, Kara.
I would too. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm
You too, right,
swamped.
Sean?
I'm swamped.
Yeah.
Are we Are we updating, and maybe Kara knows, is the county bicycle plan being updated right now? Is it in the process?
Yes, so it is in the process. NVTA is currently working with a consultant on that, and they're partnering with us specifically on the bike-friendly communities application because it's just more efficient. We don't want to duplicate. So they're going to be sharing their sort of existing facilities analysis. We're going to be hustling to get the bike parking all tracked, and we're going to be sharing that data. So yeah, it's all in motion, kind of simultaneously, which is really cool.
Thanks, Kara.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other public comment?
Is there anyone else online who would like to speak? Please raise your hand now. No additional public comment.
Okay. Public comment is closed again. And moving on to business item, the second one, electric bicycles in Newell Open Space Preserve.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm excited to share that on July 15, 2024, I just realized there's a typo in my staff report. I don't know what year that is. The city formally requested approval from the Land Trust of Napa County to allow recreational use of Class 1 electric bikes up in Newell Open Space Preserve. And on August 1st, 2024, the Land Trust responded, confirming that the recreation biking on the property is conditionally consistent with the intent and terms of the conservation easement. We are committed to make sure that we update the management plan because the Land Trust has asked that we make sure that the management plan has implemented updated restrictions as well as maintenance practices to support that recreational use biking in general. And I just want to say that we are committed to doing that. The letter that I submitted to the Land Trust does outline what those additional rules, what that additional maintenance would look like. And so we are committed to making sure that that is implemented throughout the property, and those signage and rules are posted and communicated to the public. I would like to thank the Land Trust for their ongoing support and their partnership with Managing Newell, and for their approval of this recreational activity.
Sounds like wonderful news.
Is-
I'd like to open it up for commissioner questions.
Yeah, I think I read it, that electric bikes are okay, but I'm not sure I heard you say that just then, so that's the only, I'm a little confused.
Yes, so they did say that it is okay. Class 1 electric bikes are okay up in Newell, with the caveat that we update the management plan and have rules and restrictions around that recreational use, and that we have maintenance practices and procedures that support that recreational use implemented into the update of the management plan.
Will we be able to review the language before?
Yeah, so that's actually going to be part of the management plan process. So in the letter, in your staff report, it does kind of outline what we were thinking for updated rules, as well as maintenance that would support that recreational use. So we're just, with that same theme, taking all that information and putting it into the management plan. And that management plan will come here for your review and discussion, just like we are doing this evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Mattson.
This is wonderful. It's really great. Thank you so much. And Lena, thank you. And I like the, basically the rules, the 50 miles an hour. Reducing speed to 5 miles per hour is a bit hard on a Class 1 e-bike. I think I got down to 8 when I didn't really try hard. So anyway, I'll work better at that. One question for you is, in Lena's letter, it talks about which section of the 2001 management plan would be updated. Where would it fall in your new table of contents that you have in?
Yeah,
Business
so
Item 4?
we're thinking based off of, hold on, let me pull it up really quick. So tonight in the next business item, we're going to be looking at the original chapter 1, and in Lena's, in the Land Trust's letter, they wanted us to update sections B and C, but I've gotten rid of sections B and C. We're more of getting down into, we're thinking operations, so 6.0 operations, you have the recreational use, and that's where we'll identify all the allowed recreational use and the rules and operating of that facility is going to go into that section, is what I'm thinking.
Great, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? Nope. All right, I'd like to open this up for public comment.
Is there any public comment in the room?
On the electric bicycles, granted they do not go as fast as some of the mini bikes we've seen out there, or the golf carts I've seen several children jumping in and driving around in. But when you go out there, at times you can see where some of the less responsible bike riders have been, because they're out there and they're damaging the trails. Now, I mainly am on this side of American Canyon, on the wetland side, and I see it often. You know, they're out there spinning donuts and what have you. And yes, I understand, and like the new trail, you've posted up a little sign that says all of these things. And that's great for the people that really understand and try to follow those rules and make it a nice place for everyone. But you have those that do not. And if you don't enforce those rules, you can't stop them from making it an unpleasant environment for the rest of the citizens in this town. So I just wanted to point that out. You can write all the rules and guidelines that you want, but if people don't follow them because there's no consequence, it's not going to ever be maintained properly. And I don't, you know, perhaps somebody could kind of sit incognito somewhere and kind of keep an eye out intermittently, you know. I don't know if the police department can do that. I don't know if somebody from the city can do that, just to kind of notice what's going on. It's the same thing with picking up after one's pet. I mean, it's just terrible. It's disgusting. And they're off leash. That's another rule people do not abide by. So I'm just bringing that to light. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Are you talking about the wetlands trails or Newell trails?
Mainly on this side, but I'm sure people do the same thing all over town. And, you know, on the other trails as well, because I see that often down there. But, you know,
I don't see it up at Newell, just, there's hardly anybody up there, but I don't know what's going on with the wetlands. That's what I wanted to check on.
well, I'm mainly on, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
mainly out here on the wetlands. But, I'm sure people, you know, who's ever done it, you know, when they start exploring, they may do the same thing at any of our trails that we have. So it's posted signs, guidelines. I like what you write. It's great. You've got a lot of good stuff up there, but you're gonna have those that say, oh, well, that applies to everybody but me. Anyway.
We also have Kara Werner online. Kara, please unmute yourself.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Hi, again, this is Kara Werner with the Napa County Bicycle Coalition. And I also just wanted to thank the commission, the city, and the Land Trust for really requesting the access of electric bikes in Newell open space. Class one electric bikes are really common. They don't tend to cause the consternation that the other classes sometimes cause, especially non-electric bike users. And they're really considered adaptive technology. So we really feel like allowing class one bikes in spaces like Newell facilitates access to a more diverse range of people who might want to use the open space. So really want to say thank you. And, you know, also want to just say that we're a resource should American Canyon find itself in the position that just a few other communities have found themselves, where folks are kind of taking illegal motorcycles out. You know, conflicts are arising around particularly illegal electric motorcycles, modified e-bikes that have been turned into illegal electric motorcycles. We'd be happy to explore that issue with you. But for now, class one bikes are really common, and we're really happy to see them included as they are like in Skyline Park, for example. So thank you all for that effort.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that would like to speak? There are no additional public comments.
Okay, public comment closed at this time. And I'd also like to express my appreciation for, with Ally and Lena collaborating on this project to be able to balance nature preservation and community recreation. Thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Hughes.
Can I respond to what she mentioned?
Oh, did I say closed? Public comment was closed? Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cold. So no?
Yes.
You're always going to have bad actors. Just want to distinguish between, like Cara did, Class 1 e-bikes are, you probably wouldn't even know it, that it's a motorized vehicle to some degree. But I have seen the American Canyon Police chase people down. And, you know, it's always kids or a lot of the guys fishing, and it's super frustrating when they go out there like that. I haven't seen the donuts, but the ACPD is on it. I know personally. I've seen them, you know, I've seen them show up. So if you see that and you call, they'll show up. So. Well, the guys that are fishing, they are very slow driving. Oh yeah. They seem to be very, very cautious of the people around them. Yeah, I've seen kids out there on mini bikes and they're loud, but I think, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to. Yeah, right. Thanks.
Commissioner Christian?
Yeah, at Fisherman's Wharf, right down below Ghirardelli Square, there's a couple of athletic clubs there, and lately there's been a lot on their blogs, there's been a lot of talk about groups of people congregating out right in the street there and racing. I think some are motorbikes, gas-powered, and some are electric bikes, and they're doing wheelies in the streets. And it's almost like these like, what is it, when all the cars get together and they're doing donuts? Sideshow, and then they come, yeah, it's sort of like that. And you do need the police to come in and when that happens. And I think when there's one or two bad actors, too, that are bothering people, it doesn't have to be a bike. It could just be somebody pushing people off the road because they're out they're running a marathon and people are in their way, or bicycles. Bikes can be bullies. So I mean, any kind of inappropriate behavior, I think you may need police to come in and get involved in that. I don't know that it's specifically related to the e-bikes. And up at Newell, if I'm up there watering trees, I may be up there for 2 or 3 hours. And there's days I'll go up there and I won't see anybody go up to Newell. I won't see a single person. There might be one mountain biker or two, and I know a lot of them because they stop and I'm able to chat with them. But it's just really lightly used right now. And I don't know whether that changes in the long run, but I think the problems there may be different than what you are describing from the wetlands. And I've always been concerned about that on all our trails. If you get an elderly person or disabled and they're walking on a Class 1 bike path and the bikes come up, if I'm on my bike, I slow way down. I may even get off my bike and walk them to pass by. I don't want to freak people out. So there's things you can do, but I've had friends that say they're on their bike and they just hear this voice, "You're in my way, move over." You know, just really rude and wanting to and even when I've been on Mount Tam, I'm going fairly good downhill, and then somebody just whips by me like at 30, 35 miles an hour and scares the heck out of me. And it's another mountain biker. So there's going to be a lot of problems like that. And I'm hoping that the culture develops and that it calms down after a while and people learn how to work together. And I agree about the enforcement sometimes would be necessary. And that's maybe what helps with having the ordinances too, because if we send a police officer out there to help mitigate a situation, but he's talking to somebody and there's no law, there's no ordinance, the guy could tell him, "Why are you harassing me?" So I think you need some kind of order and hopefully you get it by people voluntarily cooperating. But if you don't have the ordinance, the police officers, not a lot they can do.
Sounds like maybe there'll be a time to do some bicycle etiquette training for people.
So I don't know if you recall, but there's this amazing YouTube video that was done by your Parks and Recreation director, not only about bicycles, but also how to clean up after your pets. So if you would like to reshare those out there, I highly encourage you to do that, because to Commissioner Christian's point and to Commissioner Hughes' point, ACPD is very active. One of the main things that we do try is to encourage our community to report that activity. We just don't have enough staff on time, like on all the time, to be able to patrol every hour those parks are open. Wetlands in particular gets 64,000 people a year. That's a lot of people that park sees on an annual basis. And so it just, we need the community's help with patrolling. And so we're not asking you to go out there and citizen arrest people, but we are asking you to report activity that's not permitted or that is unsafe, so that way ACPD can respond appropriately.
Is there a phone number posted out there for people to call?
I can double check, but we would want them to call the non-emergency line. So I will double check and make sure that that's posted.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? No. Okay, moving on to our final item tonight, update Newell management plan.
Thank you, Chair. The star of the show is finally here. The anticipation is no more. So on June 18, 2024, the council approved for this commission to update the Newell management plan. The original plan was adopted in 2001 in partnership with the Land Trust of Napa County. And although the plan was instrumental at its time, it was created when there was no public access. And eventually we did obtain public access in 2015, but since then we had not updated the management plan to reflect that use. So the draft before you this evening is the original Chapter 1 of the 2001 plan. I do want to just highlight, there was some updates that were made, to very minor updates just based off of language and cleaning some redundancy up. But you'll see throughout the plan, not a lot of changes were made. And the reason for that is, one, we are currently exploring doing an updated biological survey for all the mammals, birds, and amphibians. That is something that I had discussed with the Land Trust and that they had recommended that we do, because when the original biological survey was done, that was done 23 years ago, and we didn't have public access, and then now we do, and now we have all the new development around the property. They remained neutral on the vegetation update. So they and then in regards, so neutral on the cultural resources and the vegetation, geology, and soil and hydrology updates. Since 2001, we didn't include that into our request for a quote, only because there just really hasn't been a lot of change to the land itself. We haven't had any major projects, or we're not planning on designing any new trails within that property. We really did want to focus on the animal species because of the new development and the public recreational use on that property. So we are working, we're working on getting quotes. In addition, it's important to note that there are several things listed in this management plan that we just don't have the historical data on. It was created in a time that a lot of us may not have been here, were in the room, and you know, there's some questions around the red-legged frog ponds, and you'll see those notes from the Land Trust and myself throughout the document. But also, we've had a really hard time of indicating the 1988 American Canyon landfill EIR. It is referenced several times throughout this document, but it is not an attachment to this document, which is a little interesting because we really just don't know what was done in 1988 and if it's even relevant at this time, or if we want to, you know, even reference it moving forward. I think it's important to capture the history of that property. and what has occurred over time with that property. I think that's important, just for the historical knowledge. But our goal is to create a management plan that has the ability for us to manage and operate an open space property that has passive recreational use on it, and it has open and year-round cattle grazing. And how do we manage, maintain it, and find the balance through all those many different needs. So that's really right before you tonight is draft 1. Not a lot of updates, but there are several comments that I'm hoping that you can help us with this evening. And that is it. Thank you.
Commissioner, questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So first I have to apologize. I haven't read through this really deeply. I've just kind of scanned through it. I was going to do it today, but I had some vehicle issues the last couple of days, and I took all my time. But first on the frog ponds, it's always been confusing because I was there when the developer bought the rights, and I actually ran into the contractor in the field, and he was planting or doing something. And I talked to him, and I asked him, "How do you know if it took?" And he said, "Well, if the vegetation takes, then it's successful." And the vegetation never did take. And I heard that the two home builders that had bought that moved on and went. I think they went up to Lynch Canyon. And I was told by Lynch Canyon folks that they came up there and found a site at Lynch Canyon to do that mitigation. But the city then dug 3 ponds on the trail between the barn and the picnic area on the right-hand side, about halfway up. The city just dug those. I don't think I heard from the land trust that the city hadn't really been coordinated with
Barry,
them.
can I stop you for a minute?
Yeah.
Is this a question or a comment?
Yeah. Are you? How are you handling the 3 ponds that are on the way up, and then up at the top of North Loop? That was also dug for red-legged frog, and over by the transmission lines at the top, those were dug for red-legged frog. But the city never got. They didn't get credit for it because they would have had to shut the road. So when Creighton was here, we went and tried to look that all up, and the Fish and Wildlife didn't even mention about the first ones down at the bottom. So I'm wondering how you're handling the different ones, and are we just saying, okay, well, we didn't get credit, so we're leave them alone? Are we still going to try to make them red-legged frogs? The one up at the top of the North Loop Trail, Shalon Zudi and Creighton fenced that in, and there's trees up there that we're watering, and that's going to have trees, and it's changed its character since the cattle left, because it was a mud pit, and now you can see it's really changed. So I'm wondering how you're going to address that. Is it all being talked about the same? That's all red-legged frog mitigation? Are we saying they're done, we're not going to worry about it? Just a little clarity, that's all.
I don't think I'm going to have an answer for you tonight, this evening, Barry, because that's information that I just did not have. It wasn't included in this management plan because the plan was never updated when that work was done. I don't know what the land trust involvement was in those projects, and I'm a little hesitant about having any opinion on that without having without consulting with the land trust and having a conversation with them, because it seems very odd that we would do a project like that without their approval, and then without the approval of Fish and Wildlife too, just because if we are trying to mitigate for a species that is protected, I would think that we would want to involve those two entities in those projects, and then we would do the right thing of making sure that it was protected in a way to do it right. The great thing about this project that I forgot to mention is we are going to be looking at bringing on a consultant to help me with this update. They're WRA. I'm waiting for a quote from them to help me on like an on-call per diem. And they are skilled biologists, which is great. And they can help me, figure out these different nuances of the property that I'm just not as familiar with. and I can run this by them as well and kind of get their take. I guess what I would need to know is the location of these ponds, and so that way we can have them maybe potentially go out there and take a look at them to see if they're even viable, if they're in a location that is conducive to that species. And like I said, I would also really want to make sure that I connect with the land trust and kind of get their take on this too, because I just don't have an answer for you tonight. It's just opening up more questions that I have about this update, and just kind of like it shows the nuances, right? Like it just shows how outdated this plan is. And just if we go back to the red-legged mitigated area, one of the main comments from the land trust is, really, does the developer have those rights? I don't know. Like how, do they have those rights? Because we don't have a deed of easement that I'm aware of them having that. So these are just more things that we have to look into to really see if this really is something that needs to be part of this management plan. And so that's why I'm just saying, I thank you, Barry, for bringing that to my attention. I think I have more questions for you
Yeah.
before I can answer that.
I'll be happy to map those out. And I'll say that we had Hope, I forget her last name, but she was with Monk and Associates. And her opinion was just treat it as if it was successful, at least for the ones at the lower part. But I don't think she addressed the upper ones. So that leads into my second question, which was, will there be a section on the potential of restoration? Because in here it says that the settlers cut down the cotton oaks and the oaks for firewood, and then planted the eucalyptus trees. And there was a Reoak the Napa Valley project that RCD was running. That's what started the planting all in between the barn and the parking lot, was RCD coming out. They had money from PG&E, and it was Reoak the Napa Valley. And the Historical Ecology Atlas plays into that, which Friends of the River will be presenting to City Council in an upcoming meeting. And Sherry Gardner was one of the authors. We'll try to get her there. But just the potential for planting valley oaks, and we've shown that we can do that even where other trees aren't. If we water them the first 3 years, they take, and we have the potential to do all that. But the management plan also initially said that we should seek the advice of people like UC Davis, get the experts out here, and see what we can do with the property. So I'd be interested if there was a section, some guidance, some ideas, some desire to seek grants and get experts out there and really think what we can do in terms of restoration, which is in addition to the cattle and the public access and all that. But what can we do to improve the property in that way? So that's my question or comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Mattson?
Do any other commissioners have comments or questions first? Or should I go ahead? Okay, so, in my career, I did a lot of technical editing, and often I do copy editing. So I already handed this to Allie. It's just how I process a document is go through page by page and kind of see if there's any issues that need to be resolved. So it's probably not my job. It's just how I process stuff. But I want to say, first of all, that I really like how this is written. It took the 2001 document and pulled things in and rearranged them a bit, made them easier to read. The flow is really nice, so I really appreciate that. I don't know if I'm not going to go through this. That's all I have to say. I've given it to Allie so she can put it in her back pocket. Some stuff is just, some wordsmithing and stuff. But a couple of questions. Well, one question I had, there was a paragraph about landslides, and that didn't seem to make it into this version. So, and I know we've had a lot of trouble with landslides lately, so I think it needs to be in there. I've now moved into comments instead of questions, I guess.
Did you happen to put it on your sheet?
Yes, it's on my
Okay.
sheet. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I think most of my comments and questions are pretty clear on this page. I don't want to bore everybody with it, but one issue is that at one point there was a EQIP grant to try to access water for cattle, and even though it says there's abundant water on the site, for the life of them, they couldn't get it. So might need to play down a little bit the access of water.
Yeah.
But I think the rest of these are little things here and there, so I'm not going to bore anybody with that. So.
I do, just to make a comment, we really, like I said, we met with each of you to discuss the original management plan and your thoughts on the visionary document and from when it was created to where we are today. And you all had consistent feedback based off of that the document roughly about 1% has been achieved since 2001, and really just that vision is just no longer the vision for the property, and so we really wanted to kind of take out what we really wanted to, again, create a management plan based off of the community's wants and desires of the passive recreational use, and making sure that we fold in the conservation easement, because that's what I felt was really missing from this plan. It did not speak to the conservation easement at all. In some cases, it contradicted it, it undermined it, and it was not consistent with it. And so really just reframing our mindset of, okay, the conservation easement really is our, in non-political terms, the Bible of new open space, right? It tells us what we can and cannot do up there, how we work with the land trust with, getting approval of things like the e-bike is a perfect example, like submitting those requests, and how maintenance should be conducted and what is allowed, and then taking that as like our document, and then building our management plan around that, how we're going to manage this property with all these different conservation values on it, and listening to the community's main complaints. The trail is not accessible. There's cattle damage to the trail throughout the year. How are you maintaining those natural trails? Like, what is the trail standards of Newell? So we really tried to take that feedback from the community and incorporate that into the management plan, and listen and respond, right? We want that property to be enjoyable. We want it to be safe, and we want to make sure that it's serving its main purpose of being an open space preserve. So it's not a perfect science. It's still a work in progress, but really, the first part, to Commissioner Matson's point, was really trying to write it in a way for somebody like me, a normal community member, can be able to pick it up and read it and really understand what we're trying to say or what that property is about. We want to put it in very plain text, so that way they know what type of property it is, how we're going to manage and operate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think you're well on the way to achieving that. So, thanks.
Thank you for putting this together. This is good. Yeah.
Allie, I'll send this to you electronically.
Okay, I'd like to open this for public comment.
Is there anyone in the room that would like to make comment? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom that would like to make public comment? Please raise your hand now. There's no public comment.
Okay, are there any other commissioner comments on this item? Commissioner Curtis?
Yeah, thanks for answering my questions in your report, so I didn't have to ask them, and really appreciate you pursuing the biological survey and an updated biological survey. I think that's super critical to this. And also, just actually one then question, I thought I heard you say you were hoping or potentially or maybe wishfully thinking to try and incorporate more of the history of that, and I was curious if there's been any outreach or potential outreach to tribes that maybe have some of that tribal knowledge that's passed down that may be beneficial.
So a lot of the cultural resource information is original to the document. We weren't planning on changing that because there was a lot of work that was done in that area. We can absolutely reach out to the tribal community and see if they have, and that is, I take that back. The Land Trust actually recommended that we reached out to the tribal community to see if there's any additional things that we would want to incorporate. So we can definitely venture down that avenue and try to connect with them and see if there's anything that's missing from the management plan that we may want to incorporate.
Yeah, thanks for the hard work on this.
Great question. Thank you. Commissioner Christian?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, and I think you've done a really great job getting it to this point, and it looks like it's going to even get better. So kudos. Nice work. Thank you.
No other comments? All right. Thank you, Ally. It's a lot of hard work, and I'm also, like Commissioner Artis said, I'm also happy to see the updating of the biological work. Curious if some of the species that were once noted are still there.
Yeah, we felt so. WRA is the biologist who's developing the management plan for the Jaeger open space. So we really wanted to partner with them and pull them in, and again, be a resource for me, so that way I can have somebody to help me make sure that this plan is well written and reflects what we're trying to do out there. And that also, like the potential of Jaeger open space coming online, we want both of those management plans to speak to each other and to really support one another too. So working with them, we feel that that's the best avenue to go down.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for adjournment. No?
I have a couple updates, if you don't
did.
mind.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize.
So first and foremost, the Newell parking lot and trail improvement project is going to be starting next week. We are extremely excited about that. It's coming to life. As you recall, this is going to be paving the parking lot, adding some ADA parking spaces, as well as improving the first 100 feet of the trail into Newell. We are going to be installing some gates. Like I had mentioned, we really want to, when we say the park is closed, we really want people to know that the park is closed. And so we are going to be making some entrance and exit improvements with a ped gate, as well as a vehicle gate, not only to access the trail, because a lot of the damage that's happened on the trail is unauthorized vehicles driving on the trail when it's wet, and that's created a lot of the divots and the damage. So we are going to be installing some gates in addition to improving the parking lot in the first 100 feet. Secondly, if you are a dog owner, we are inviting you to our very first Barktoberfest this Friday at Northampton Park from 4 to 7 p.m. Come on down, make some new friends. We're going to have some food trucks. It's an all-organic hangout, and it's going to be a possum event. Don't forget, October 9th is the Napa County Walk and Roll to School Day. This is in partnership with Safe Routes to School, Napa County Bicycle Coalition, California Office of Traffic Safety, and Spare the Air. On October 12th, the Parks and Recreation Department will be holding an American Canyon Trails program focused on learning about the birds at the wetlands from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. On October 19th, we'll be hosting a volunteer opportunity at the wetlands to plant willow cuttings in the ground from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you would like to volunteer to do that, please sign up online. And then please mark your calendars. Veterans Day is coming up, where we're going to be doing our Veterans ceremony at the American Canyon Middle School at 11 a.m. And then Magic of the Season is going to be on Friday, December 6th at Shenandoah Park from 5 to 8 p.m. This is in partnership with the American Canyon Chamber of Commerce, where they're going to be bringing the holiday marketplace. And then the tree lighting will be at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mattson?
A real quick question on the Newell parking lot. Are the bike racks in the plan?
I ended up talking to Erica, our Public Works Director, and we're going to incorporate those when the project is done. So we do have a plan of installing some bike racks.
Thank you.
And bike locker too?
Not a bike locker. Not a bike locker, but definitely a bike rack, so that way people can park their bicycles.
Okay, thank you. Okay, meeting is adjourned at 7:34.